Unlock the secrets to overcoming ego and embracing lasting inner peace. Imagine this: you're sitting in complete silence. The world outside bustling with distractions. Yet your mind refuses to settle. It flits from thought to thought, from worry to worry, until you realize the root of this turbulence lies not in the world but within yourself. This realization, that your ego is the architect of so much inner chaos, is both terrifying and liberating. In this journey, we'll unravel the intricate layers of the ego and discover the profound, lasting peace that lies beneath it. Let me start with a question that might shake you to your core. Who are you without the stories you tell yourself about who you are? Think about it. Strip away the labels, the accomplishments, the fears, and the judgments. What remains? This question is the doorway to understanding the ego's grip and, ultimately, its release. The ego, as many spiritual traditions describe, is a construct. It's not inherently bad, it's a survival mechanism. It helps us navigate the world by creating a sense of identity and separateness. But this separateness is a double-edged sword. While it allows us to function, it also isolates us, feeding a false sense of me versus the world. This illusion becomes the breeding ground for suffering, comparison, insecurity, jealousy, and an insatiable desire for validation. I ask you now, when was the last time you felt whole, without needing anyone or anything to validate your worth? If that moment feels distant or non-existent, it's not because you lack wholeness but because the ego has clouded your ability to see it. As we dive deeper into this exploration, let's address the first and most common misconception: overcoming the ego doesn't mean destroying it. That's a battle you'll never win because the very desire to destroy the ego is ego-driven. Instead, the key is to recognize it, understand its patterns, and transcend it by aligning with something greater, your true self. Practical wisdom lies in small, intentional practices. Begin by observing your thoughts without judgment. This may sound simple, but it's revolutionary. The next time you feel anger, ask yourself, what part of me feels attacked? Is it my pride, my image, my expectations? You'll notice that the ego is always at the center of these reactions, defending its fragile sense of self. Meditation is another profound tool. When you sit in silence and focus on your breath, you're not just calming the mind, you're stepping into the space beyond thought. That space, that stillness, is where the ego begins to dissolve. In those moments, you're not John the accountant or Sarah the mother, you simply are. And in that being, you find peace. But let's be honest, this journey isn't always serene. The ego resists. It clings to familiar identities and narratives because they make it feel safe. It's like a child refusing to let go of a worn-out toy. So, how do you handle this resistance? Through compassion. Instead of fighting your ego, approach it with understanding. Thank it for trying to protect you, but gently remind it that its job is no longer necessary. Now, let's talk about relationships. A fertile ground for ego battles. How often do arguments stem from the need to be right or to feel superior? What if, the next time you're in conflict, you paused and asked yourself, is this my true self speaking? Or is it my ego defending its territory? This single question has the power to transform not only the argument but the relationship itself. A profound practice in relationships is learning to truly listen, not to respond, not to defend, but to understand. When you listen with presence, ego takes a back seat. You realize that the other person's words, emotions, and struggles are not separate from your own. This is the essence of connection. And it's where peace begins to flourish. As you journey further, you'll encounter moments of deep discomfort. These moments are invitations, not obstacles. When the ego is threatened, when you feel jealousy, shame, or inadequacy, ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to teach me about the illusions I'm clinging to? Often, you'll find that the ego is exposing its vulnerabilities, giving you an opportunity to release them. Consider the concept of surrender. Often misunderstood as giving up. True surrender is not passive, it's the most profound act of courage. It's saying, I trust the flow of life more than I trust my need to control it. When you surrender, you step out of the ego's fear-based narratives and into the freedom of the present moment. To anchor this understanding, let me share a metaphor. Imagine your ego as a cloud. It can block the sun, casting shadows and distorting your perception. But the sun, your true self, is always shining behind it. The cloud isn't your enemy, it's simply a temporary formation. The more you identify with the sun, the less power the cloud holds over you. Ask yourself now, am I living as the sun? Or am I lost in the shadows of the cloud? This question isn't meant to be answered quickly. Sit with it. Let it guide your reflection in the coming days. As we conclude this part, let me leave you with a challenge for the next 24 hours. Observe every instance where your ego arises. When you feel the need to defend, to prove, to compare, or to judge, pause. Acknowledge the ego's presence without acting on it. This simple exercise can be a profound step toward freedom. The next part will delve into practical strategies for deepening your connection with the true self and cultivating lasting inner peace. It will explore the nuances of spiritual surrender, the role of gratitude, and the art of letting go. The art of surrender, embracing freedom beyond control. As we move forward in this journey, let's delve into a concept that holds immense transformative power: surrender. Now, I know the very word might make you uncomfortable. We live in a world that equates surrender with defeat, with weakness. But spiritual surrender is not about giving up, it's about letting go. It's about releasing the tight grip of control that the ego thrives on, so you can align with the deeper flow of life. Let me ask you something, when was the last time you felt truly at peace? Without trying to force or control the outcome of a situation. Reflect on this for a moment. For many of us, this kind of peace is rare because we are conditioned to believe that we must always be in charge. Always fighting, striving, and achieving. The ego loves this narrative, it thrives on the illusion of control. But have you ever noticed that the more you try to control, the more anxious and restless you become? Surrender is not about passivity. It's not about resigning yourself to a life you don't want. On the contrary, it's about trusting that life itself has an intelligence far greater than the limited perspective of your ego. Imagine standing in a river. You can fight the current, struggling and exhausting yourself. Or you can let go and allow the water to carry you. The river doesn't lead you astray, it knows its way to the ocean. In practice, surrender begins with awareness. Start by noticing the areas of your life where you're holding on too tightly. Is it your job? A relationship? Your image or reputation? What are you so afraid of losing that you can't let go? Often, the root of this fear is the ego's attachment to a particular identity or outcome. But here's the truth, holding on doesn't guarantee safety, it only guarantees struggle. One of the most powerful tools for surrender is gratitude. When you cultivate gratitude, you shift your focus from what you lack to what you have. The ego thrives on scarcity, it constantly tells you that you're not enough, that you need more. Gratitude silences this voice by reminding you of the abundance already present in your life. Every morning, Before you even get out of bed, take a moment to name 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand. It could be as simple as the warmth of your blanket, the air in your lungs, or the sound of birds outside your window. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good practice, it's a doorway to presence. When you're truly grateful, you're not lost in the past or the future, you're here, now, and in this presence. The ego begins to lose its grip. You realize that peace doesn't come from controlling life, but from appreciating it as it unfolds. Another aspect of surrender is learning to let go of the stories you tell yourself. The ego loves stories, narratives about who you are, what you've done, and what you deserve. But these stories are often limiting. They box you in, making it difficult to see beyond the boundaries of your self-concept. Ask yourself, what story am I clinging to right now? And how is it serving me? If it's not serving your growth, maybe it's time to let it go. Letting go doesn't mean denying your experiences or emotions. It means acknowledging them without letting them define you. If you've been hurt, it's okay to feel that pain. But don't let it become your identity. Don't let your ego convince you that you are your wounds. You are so much more than that. Now, let's talk about trust. Surrender is impossible without trust, trust in yourself, in others, and in the universe. But trust doesn't mean blind faith. It means cultivating a sense of inner security that allows you to navigate uncertainty with grace. When you trust life, you stop needing to control every detail. You understand that even the challenges you face are not obstacles but opportunities for growth. Let me ask you this, do you trust life enough to let it unfold without your constant interference? If the answer is no, ask yourself why. What is the worst that could happen if you let go of control? Often, the fears that keep us clinging are not as real as they seem. They are projections of the ego, not reflections of reality. Meditation is a profound practice for developing this trust. When you meditate, you're essentially practicing surrender. You're sitting in stillness, allowing thoughts and emotions to arise and pass without clinging to them. Over time, you begin to see that you are not your thoughts or emotions, you are the awareness behind them. This realization is the foundation of trust. It's knowing that no matter what happens, your true self remains untouched. Another practice that deepens surrender is service. When you help others without expecting anything in return, you step out of the ego's self-centered narratives. You realize that you are part of something much greater. And this realization brings a sense of peace that the ego can never provide. Find small ways to serve. Whether it's volunteering, listening to a friend in need, or simply being kind to a stranger. These acts of selflessness chip away at the ego's hold and open your heart to the flow of life. As we explore surrender, it's important to address the role of forgiveness. The ego loves to hold grudges, it thrives on the idea of being wronged. But holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness is not about condoning the actions of others, it's about freeing yourself from the chains of bitterness. When you forgive, you're not just letting go of the past, you're reclaiming your peace. Let me leave you with a final question for this part. What would your life look like if you fully trusted the flow of life and let go of the need to control? Sit with this question. Don't rush to answer it. Let it sink in. And let it guide your reflections. In the next part, we'll explore how to sustain inner peace in a world that constantly challenges it. We'll discuss practical strategies for integrating these insights into your daily life and the profound shifts that occur when you fully embrace the present moment. Living in the now, the gateway to eternal peace. As we move into this final part of our journey, let us focus on the heart of inner peace, living fully in the now. The present moment is the only place where life truly exists. Yet, how often do we live here? How often are we carried away by thoughts of the past or anxieties about the future? Forgetting that the now is all there ever is? Ask yourself, if this moment were all you had, would you live it any differently? Sit with this question. It's not about hypothetical answers but about waking up to the truth that this moment, right now, is your life. Everything else is just a thought, a fleeting shadow. To understand the power of the present, we need to first confront the ego's relationship with time. The ego thrives on time. It either dwells in the past, replaying old wounds and glories, or projects into the future, building castles of fear or hope. Rarely does it allow you to simply be. But the now has no room for the ego. When you're fully present, the ego fades into the background, unable to survive in the clear light of awareness. Let's explore a simple yet profound practice, mindfulness. Mindfulness is not about doing, it's about being. It's about fully inhabiting the present moment. Whether you're washing dishes, walking, or simply breathing, try this the next time you eat. Slow down. Taste every bite as if it were the first time you've ever eaten. Notice the textures, flavors, and sensations. This act of mindfulness pulls you out of the ego's narratives and into the immediacy of life. Another powerful gateway to the present is breath. Your breath is always in the now, it cannot exist in the past or the future. When your mind starts to wander, gently bring your attention to your breathing. Feel the rise and fall of your chest, the coolness of the air as it enters your nostrils, the warmth as it leaves. In this simple act, you anchor yourself in the present, where peace resides. But let's be honest, living in the now isn't always easy. The world is noisy, and distractions are endless. Social media, deadlines, and the constant pressure to do more pull us away from presence. Yet, even in this chaos, there are opportunities for stillness. The next time you're overwhelmed, pause. Take a single deep breath and ask yourself, what is truly happening right now? Not what you think is happening, but what is actually here, this breath, this moment, this life. Presence also requires us to let go of judgment. How often do we label our experiences as good or bad, right or wrong? These judgments are the ego's attempt to categorize and control reality. But what if you approached life with curiosity instead of judgment? What if, instead of labeling a situation as bad, you asked, what can I learn from this? This shift in perspective transforms challenges into opportunities for growth and deepens your connection to the present. Let's take this a step further and explore the role of acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean passively resigning yourself to everything that happens. It means fully acknowledging what is, without resistance. Resistance is the ego's way of fighting reality, and it creates suffering. But when you accept the present moment as it is, you free yourself from this struggle. Think about a time when you resisted reality. Maybe you were stuck in traffic, received bad news, or faced an unexpected setback. How did resistance make you feel? Now imagine if, in that moment, you had simply accepted what was happening. Would the situation have changed? Perhaps not. But your inner state would have shifted from tension to peace. Here's a question for you. What are you resisting in your life right now? And how would it feel to let go of that resistance? This question is not about solving problems but about embracing the freedom that comes from acceptance. Another profound aspect of living in the now is cultivating gratitude. We've touched on gratitude before, but let's deepen the practice. Gratitude is a bridge between the ego and the present moment. When you're grateful, you're not lost in what's missing, you're fully immersed in what's here. Try this, before you sleep tonight. Reflect on 3 things you're grateful for today. Notice how this practice shifts your perspective from lack to abundance. Finally, let's talk about the transformative power of love. Love is not an emotion, it's a state of being. When you're fully present, you naturally embody love, love for yourself, for others, and for life itself. The ego sees love as conditional, something to be earned or deserved. But true love is unconditional, it arises from the recognition that we are all connected, all part of the same vast, beautiful whole. Let me leave you with one last question. Perhaps the most important of all, what would your life look like if you fully embraced the present moment? Free from the ego's stories and fears? Don't rush to answer. Let this question guide your reflections and actions in the days to come. As we close this journey, remember this: the secrets to overcoming the ego and embracing lasting inner peace are not hidden in some faraway place. They are here, in the simplicity of the now. The ego will try to complicate, to distract, to pull you away. But each time you return to the present, you reclaim your true self, a self untouched by fear, judgment, or time. This is the ultimate truth: peace is not something you achieve, it is something you uncover. It has always been within you, waiting for you to come home. And now, you have the tools to begin this journey. You are not alone. Every breath, every moment, every step is guiding you back to the truth of who you are. Thank you for walking this path with me. May you find the peace that surpasses all understanding and carry it with you. Not just for a moment but for a lifetime.